Thank you for clicking on this video and for spending some time with me today. My name is Anna, and thus far my video content has consisted of me telling you guys my husband and I's journey to having our first baby. And unfortunately, we've had some losses along the way, and it's been a few months since I updated you on this. I left off in June, and it is now October of 2025. And to recap real quickly, we started trying to conceive last September of 2024. And our first month, we had what I believed was a chemical pregnancy. We followed that up with our second conception, and that was a miscarriage or blighted ovum that was discovered at 9 weeks. We managed that with medication at home, and at the beginning of the year, we thought I might need surgery based on the result of my ultrasound, but then after talking more with our providers, they said we would be okay to go back to trying on our own since I'd gotten my menstrual cycle back. We conceived in March of this year. We started supplementing with progesterone as soon as we had a positive pregnancy test. I also took a baby aspirin up until we had a little bleeding event that I thought might be a subchorionic hematoma. And then we saw the heartbeat at 6 weeks and 8 weeks, but unfortunately when we went in for our 12-week appointment, the baby had passed away. And we managed that miscarriage at home with medication, similarly to how we did the first time around. But unfortunately, we had not passed all of the tissue. And so we were trying to give my body enough time to process it on its own. But I ended up getting a UTI, having to take some antibiotics. And when I got my period back, which we were hoping would take care of that last bit of tissue, it sadly didn't. So it was just time for me to go ahead and get surgery to get that last bit of tissue. So that surgery was technically a hysteroscopy and a localized DNC because it was such a small bit of tissue that they really just needed to go in and remove that last bit of fetal tissue versus like scraping the whole uterus. And that went really well. I didn't have any issues. All my providers were great, which was so nice because surgery was something that I was initially resistant to, but it came to a point where like I knew that was the best thing for my body and my long-term fertility. So then for it to go well was just reassuring that we had made the right decision. And through surgery, we were also able to verify that I didn't have any anatomical issues going on with my uterus, like a septum. Things like that can contribute to miscarriage. And it was just reassuring to have a clean slate because I was starting to have anxiety about what was going on with my body and whether or not I was developing a serious infection. So the surgery was a good choice for me. And after that, I've been working with a couple of different providers, one being a functional medicine doctor who specializes in fertility and digestion, and then a nurse midwife who works with one of our local women's clinics. So it's more like mainstream medicine. And with my functional medicine doctor, we've been doing really expansive blood work, and we've slowly been crossing off different boxes of things that could have contributed to the recurrent miscarriages, or there are common things that cause miscarriages in other people. But I don't have any thyroid issues, autoimmune conditions, blood clotting disorders, things like that going on, that overall I've looked really healthy. However, my blood work had repeatedly showed low ALP. ALP is alkaline phosphatase, and that is an enzyme that allows the body to utilize different vitamins and is kind of like a building block for different mechanisms in the body. And because it was repeatedly low, my doctor also wanted me to get my vitamin B6 tested because those are correlated with each other, and basically my vitamin B6 was sky high. So those two things together are actually a trademark sign of this rare metabolic genetic condition called hypophosphatasia. And it's one of those deals that there aren't a whole lot of reasons why a person's ALP would be low. Like, it could be due to liver issues, but with all of my blood work, it showed that my other organs look really healthy. So just by default, my providers think that I do have this genetic condition called hypophosphatasia, and we need to get genetic testing done to officially confirm, which I would love to do, but it is almost $3,000 to do with us not having met our insurance deductible at this point. So we're not going to yet. And another reason why we feel okay with putting this off is because the treatment for hypophosphatasia is enzyme injections. The most common medication right now is Strensiq. It's multiple times a day that you inject yourself at home to replenish this enzyme that we're deficient in. But it is contraindicated with pregnancy because it can cross the placenta. So with us having our obvious family planning goal of having a child, that treatment isn't indicated at this point. And fortunately, I don't really have signs of hypophosphatasia. Like, when you Google it, you'll see that there are people who struggle with brittle bones, losing their teeth, things like that I haven't had any past history of. I have, in hindsight, kind of wondered, I have this reoccurring ankle mobility issue on my left side, that maybe that's related to hypophosphatasia. And there are some mental side effects like brain fog that could potentially be affecting me. But all that to say that it's a very minor at this point condition of hypophosphatasia. So we'll be delaying treatment at this point. And in terms of whether or not hypophosphatasia could be something that is contributing to my miscarriages, we can't say for sure, because there is a small potential for interference with placenta and development, but it's really rare. So I'm just kind of hedging our bets that it's something else that was going on with me that's contributed to our losses, as opposed to hypophosphatasia. That would really suck, because again, the treatment for it is not recommended with pregnancy. So to be determined on that, but I'm at least grateful to know that I likely have this condition, and it's something that will affect me for the rest of my life. So once we are done having children, I do plan to start treatment for hypophosphatasia. Another diagnosis that I got since last time we talked was SIBO. That's SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. That is likely something I acquired from getting food poisoning several years ago, back in 2019 and 2021. That's an inciting event that can cause the microbiome to get thrown off in the gut. And I've known that I've had minor digestive issues for years, but I had looked into it. I did a MAP stool test back in, I think it was 23, and it didn't show any big red flags, maybe a couple opportunistic pathogens that were slightly high. So I was on a protocol to reduce the bad bacteria one month and boost the good bacteria the next month. And I tried different gluten-free, dairy-free diets, and nothing really helped. So I just accepted it, because again, it was minor. It's not something that was debilitating me in my day-to-day. It was just when I'd sit down to go to the bathroom at night, then I would just spend kind of a long time on the toilet. My stool would be a little bit looser than it should be for someone who's who eats really well and is active, leads a healthy lifestyle. But again, because I did that MAP stool testing and all the things that people usually recommend for digestive issues, that it didn't help in significant ways, I just kind of accepted it. But then pregnancy and the losses and just all those fluctuations in hormones definitely exacerbated the SIBO issues to the point where like my digestion was getting worse. I was having bad stomach pain, and so I was just like, I really want to get to the bottom of this. And I was talking with a friend, and she brought up SIBO as something that she went through, and like once she said that, everything just started clicking for me, and I felt like that was something that I could have. And so I brought it up with my functional medicine doctor, and she's like, yeah, like the constant bloating, the loose stools, like things like that could definitely be SIBO. So she ordered a breath test, and I took that, and that's when I got confirmed that I do have it. And so all of September, I was following the first phase of the SIBO protocol, kind of more of a elimination phase where I was taking an herbal antimicrobial called microcidin AF 3 times a day away from meals. And to just make it easier on my digestive tract, I was following the low FODMAP diet, which is really interesting. I can make a whole separate video on the whole SIBO protocol, low FODMAP diet, but it wasn't too bad when I was cooking at home, but it made it nearly impossible to go out and eat. But I've just finished that first phase of management for SIBO, and now I'm moving into phase 2, where you slowly reintroduce foods along with probiotics to see if you have certain triggers, and then just replenish the gut after spending the last month cutting back on that bad bacteria that had been there for so long. And I've had good improvement with it. I would say most nights I have normal bowel movements and I'm feeling good. There were some little hiccups along the way, like about a weekend. I think I had some of the die-off effects where it got really bad again, but as I just kept with it, it's gotten better. So that's a relief, and I'm excited to be on to the next phase where I'm reintroducing foods. I am, however, still having some symptoms of digestive issues, more higher up the digestive tract, where I still get a little bit of silent reflux and congestion and things like that. So we are still working on addressing that. Let's see. Then other things that have been happening with my nurse midwife. I went in for an ultrasound recently. It was on day 12 of my cycle to see how thick the uterine lining was getting to like prior to ovulation, and we were going over the results. She said that it looks like my lining is good. It's 5 millimeters, so it's still a little bit on the thinner side, but she said that you can definitely have a healthy pregnancy with that kind of uterine lining. And my lining has a good organization of the cells. It has that trilaminar appearance versus being like disorganized. So she was very happy with that. And looking at my ovaries, I had one definite follicle that was larger than the others, or that like functional cyst. So like the normal part of your cycle, don't think like a bad cyst or anything like that. But the one that was 2.2 centimeters, so that was indicating to her that I was going to ovulate, and it looked like a more mature egg, strong ovulation, like the things that I needed, because one of her theories for why we've had pregnancy losses is that I've maybe released kind of a dud of an egg that didn't produce a robust enough corpus luteum to have enough of the hormones like progesterone to sustain the pregnancy. Another thing that she had kind of brought up to me is that it's possible that from the initial missed miscarriage that we had last year, that maybe I did actually have some retained tissue that we didn't fully manage. Because again, I was told by that old provider at the time that because I got my menstrual cycle back, that we were good to start trying. But after our next loss, like I saw for myself that even after I got my cycle back, that didn't mean all the tissue was gone. So that's something that in hindsight now, I really wish that we would have gotten another follow-up ultrasound after getting my cycle at the beginning of the year to really confirm that that tissue had passed on its own, because I've seen that like my body is apparently very stubborn when it comes to flushing itself of this tissue that's no longer serving us. So it is possible that I still had some retained tissue when we conceived again, and maybe that interfered with the implantation process. But again, we don't know. The other kind of theory that I've come up with since just doing more and more research on like fertility and like birth control is that maybe I didn't give my body enough time after getting my IUD removed to allow my uterine lining to get thick enough for a pregnancy. At the time last year, like I had read that about like 3 months should be good if you get your cycle back to like, it represents that your hormones have kind of returned to that healthy level. And like, that was true. I did have like a seemingly normal cycle, but now I've read more things that say that it could take women up to 6 months or more for their uterine lining to really repair itself from getting so thinned out from birth control. And this is something that it really varies from woman to woman. And I know that for some people, as soon as they get their IUD out, they can get pregnant and have a baby. And so I could have just been one of the more unlucky ones where my lining was a little bit more stripped. And so now, since it's been pregnancy, surgery, like I've never really given my body more than 3 months worth of time without some inciting event to change the environment. So I think it does make me feel better now that we're taking a little bit more time between pregnancies to try again and really just make sure that I'm as healthy as possible. But I was so excited to hear from the nurse midwife that she thought my uterine lining was looking good and that I was ovulating well, that she actually gave us the green light to go ahead and start trying again. And her recommendation for us is to have me supplement with estrogen days 8 through 12 of my next cycle to just promote the thickening of my uterine lining, and then to also supplement with progesterone 3 days after ovulation to support a pregnancy if it does happen. This is a provider that had brought up letrozole for us, and that's not totally off the table. But since she was seeing that my uterine lining is looking pretty good and that I seem to be ovulating well with that big follicle, that she doesn't think I necessarily need it at this point. I do plan to contact her next week, because I have noticed with like the end of this cycle that I'm on now that I'm getting a little bit of spotting like mid luteal. And last cycle, like, so when I was talking to her, that I had only gotten a couple days of spotting right before my period, and that's a little bit less concerning than like straight mid luteal phase spotting. So I'm curious if updating her with that information that she might actually want us to go ahead and try letrozole this cycle, to just again make sure I'm getting that mature egg and getting enough hormone production to sustain a pregnancy. It's just that we have to also consider that with letrozole there are other risks and things that go along with it, like the increased risk of multiples and things. So to be determined on that front. But it was nice too, because after I'd met with the nurse midwife, we then had an appointment with my functional medicine doctor to update on like SIBO stuff. And I told her that we'd gotten the green light from my other provider and just wanted her opinion. Does she also think that we're ready to start trying? And she said that, yeah, just everything that she's seen from me, that I look nice and healthy, and they don't see an obvious reason why we wouldn't be able to have a healthy pregnancy at this point. So with SIBO, like that's something that is a form of like chronic inflammation in the body. So we don't know if that was something that could have been contributing to our losses, But it again just reassures us. It's like, okay, we've cut down that inflammation, so we're just giving me the healthiest possible environment to have a baby. So like, we're excited, still proceeding with caution, still wanting to really make sure that this is the time to start trying, because as badly as we want to have a baby, we really don't want to go through other losses if we can help it. We know that there are so many factors that are out of our control, and so I'm surrendering to that, but I just want to be bringing my best package forward, because I'm more than willing to wait if people thought that we weren't ready yet. So that is where we're at. It's exciting. I'm really looking forward to the future, and hope this is helpful. I know that this is just kind of like a dump of information, and if you're someone is listening to this who isn't on a fertility journey, it might not make sense why I'm going into all this detail and back history, but if you are in it, you get it. And oftentimes you just want to keep learning as much as you can, and it's really nice to hear from other women who are going through something similar. And I think that in some ways my story has been pretty unique. So I just wanted to put more information out there about random things like hypophosphatasia and SIBO and the thin uterine lining and all these things that could have contributed to our losses, because I just want to help other people potentially avoid getting in this situation and just feel less alone through it. So I'm sending my love, and I appreciate everyone just like listening to our story and sending us support, and I look forward to updating you soon. Take care.